If you're applying for spousal or common law sponsorship, having a red flag in your relationship timeline does not automatically mean refusal. What creates problems is when something looks unusual on paper and nobody explains it properly. And this is where many genuine couples get into trouble. Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Jas Dhillon, a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. In this video, I want to walk you through some of the most common red flags I see every day in spousal and common law sponsorship applications. And more importantly, how to explain them in a way that makes sense to the officer. Because IRCC is not looking for a perfect relationship. They are looking for a relationship that is genuine, continuing, and properly supported. A lot of couples think, let's not mention this part, omit this information, maybe it will create suspicion. But usually, the opposite is true. If something is unusual and you stay silent about it, the officer is left guessing. And when an officer has to guess anything, that is when concerns start. So, let's talk about the biggest red flags. Number 1, very short courtship period before marriage. Maybe you met, spoke for a few months, got engaged, and married quickly. Or maybe there was an arranged marriage where you did not have much time to spend together before marriage as a couple. Now, this is not automatically a reason for refusal. Let me tell you one thing here. In many cultures, fast timelines from first meeting to engagement and then marriage are completely normal. But from an officer's perspective, the question becomes, how did this relationship develop so quickly? So don't just submit the marriage certificate and photos, explain the story. For example, how you met, how often you were communicating, whether your families were involved early, why marriage happened on that timeline. A short timeline is easier to understand when some context is provided and that context is strong. Maybe the couple was introduced through family, spoke every day for 4 months, had video calls with both families, met in person twice, and then got married. That can make sense. But if the file simply says, we met in March and got married in July the same year with no explanation, it looks thin and can raise concerns. Number 2, very little time spent together in person. This is extremely common in long distance relationships. Maybe you only met once in person, maybe work, visa refusals, finances, or travel restrictions made it difficult for you to meet in person. Again, that does not automatically mean the relationship is not genuine. But the officer will want to see that the relationship was still active and serious. So show consistent communication over time, travel attempts or visits, money spent on visits or wedding plans, future plans as a couple together. The key here is simple. Even if time together was limited, your effort should not look limited. Number 3, age gap, language gap, or cultural differences. This is where many couples get nervous for no reason at all. An age gap or cultural difference is not a refusal ground by itself. But if the relationship looks unusual and there is no context given to the officer may wonder how the relationship functions in real life. So, help the officer understand that. How you communicate, how your families responded, whether there was initial resistance from the families or not, how you handled those differences. Let's take a realistic example here. If there's a couple with 14-year age gap and they come from different backgrounds, if their file only shows the wedding photos, the officer may have concerns and questions. But if the file explains how they met at work, how the relationship grew, how the families became involved, and how they plan to manage those differences, the relationship becomes much more understandable. A valid explanation and efforts can make things easy. Number 4, prior visitor visa refusals or immigration history. This is a big one. If the sponsored spouse had a prior visitor visa refusal, or specifically if there are multiple refusals, the officer may ask, Is the sponsorship application even genuine, or is it mainly about getting to Canada? That does not mean the sponsorship will fail. It means the file needs to address the history of refusals and the reasons honestly. So do three things: acknowledge the refusal clearly, explain the reason for that refusal accurately, and show why the sponsorship application stands on its own as a genuine relationship case. Do not pretend that the refusal never happened. And do not give defensive explanation. Just be clear, factual, and transparent about those refusals. Number 5, weak proof or proof that tells no story. This is probably the biggest issue I see these days. Some couples think we have over 200 screenshots, 50 photos, boarding passes, gifts, and wedding pictures, so we should be fine. But evidence is not just about quantity. It is about whether the evidence tells a clear, believable story or not. Especially for common law cases, IRCC looks for proof of cohabitation such as shared leases, joint bills, IDs showing the same address, insurance, and other documents tying both partners to the same home. And even in spousal cases, random screenshots without dates, duplicate selfies, or only selfies attached as photos, or unorganized documents can weaken the file instead of helping it. So ask yourself, if someone who knows nothing about us opens this file, will they understand these things? How we met, how the relationship progressed, how families were involved, how we stayed connected, and what life as a couple looks like now. If the answer to any of these questions is no, the officer is just left to connect the dots. And of course, that is risky. So, here is the most important point. A red flag is not the problem. An unexplained red flag in your application is the problem. Genuine couples are allowed to have short courtship periods, long distance relationships, age gaps, religious differences, cultural differences, previous visa refusals, and complicated timelines. In the end, it all comes to that your file must make sense. If your relationship has any complexity, which honestly I believe most real relationships do not try to hide it. Do not assume the officer will just understand. Explain it properly, organize it properly, and support it properly. Because once your application and relationship makes sense on paper, your application becomes even more stronger. If you want professional help with your sponsorship application, you can book a consultation by visiting my website or from the link provided in the description. I handle every case personally and present it in the best possible way, especially when there are any of these red flags. If you think this video has helped you, please hit the like button, subscribe, and tap the bell icon for more updates. Thank you for watching and see you in another video.